Welcome to the Real Expats of Panama, a new segment of the Panama Podcast, where we cut through the noise and bring you the real scoop on what life in Panama is actually like. Forget the glossy brochures and those too good to be true social media posts. Forget the haters and the trolls. We've been on the ground in Panama, living it every day. Welcome to the Panama Podcast, from dreaming to doing. I'm your host, Melissa Darnay. If you want insider tips on living, investing, and having a blast in Panama, go to choosepanama.com and snag your free copy of Panama Uncorked. Joining me are two powerhouse co-hosts who know Panama inside and out. Stacey Jenks is our vacation property management expert. She keeps rentals running like a well-oiled machine. Amanda Gleeson is a turnkey decorator who transforms empty spaces into stunning homes ready for move-in. Together, we've seen it all, the good, the bad, and the unexpected. So don't believe everything you read online. We're here to give you the unfiltered truth, because when it comes to living in Panama, what you don't know could cost you. Our topic today is why I moved to Panama. We are joined by a special guest, Jerry Givens, an American who spends half time in Panama and the other half time in the U.S. Ladies, let's dive in.
Cheers.
Cheers. Amanda, what was the turning point or key moment when you decided you were definitely going to move to Panama?
I was telling someone this story the other day, and I remember it as clear as if it was almost yesterday, even though it was over 10 years ago. I had come to Panama to visit for 2 weeks, and my really good friend that I'd come to visit had been convincing me, you should move to Panama. There's so much opportunity here. And I was like, I can't move to Panama. Like, I have a career. I have cats.
Crazy cat lady.
Guilty. So I'm having a day in the office. I'm looking at the horrible grey car park next to my desk, and it's like I had.
View?
Definitely not.
You know, I was on a podcast earlier today, a video podcast with somebody in Oregon, and they were like, wow, what a great Zoom background. And I was like, no, this is actually real. See the ship moving.
Yeah.
Ship moving.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Yes. So back to my hideous grey car park. And that was that. It was like a lightning bolt moment where I was like, I'm an employee here. I'm not obliged to stay here. There is no reason I actually can't move to Panama, because the worst thing that can happen, I don't like it. I go back home, I get another job.
That's right. I think so many times when people think about moving to a different country, they think it's forever and ever. Amen. Mm-hmm. They don't realize it can just be an adventure. I mean, for some people, it's a year. For some people, 5 years. For some people, forever. Like
10 and counting.
You're not getting me out of Panama.
Yeah.
Well, what's crazy is I never in a million years, because we've been coming to visit Panama since she moved here almost every year. And she didn't try to talk me into moving. Never
Not
did.
even once.
No. She really didn't.
Not
Her
even
husband
once.
did. But I never in a million years thought we would. And now that we have, it's been 2 years, and I'm like,
Where did the time go?
blink, where did it go?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And
So you're saying 10 years, I'm like, I just can't.
To me, it was really shocking how quickly Panama felt like home. Like I've just come back from a month in Australia for the Christmas vacation. I mean, it's been 10 years since I left, and I kept talking about I'm going home in a week. But the first time it was about 6 months after living here, and I got off the plane. I'd been to a quick jaunt to Colombia, got off the plane, and said to my friend, oh, it's so good to be home.
Yeah.
It felt like home really, really quickly here.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Stacey, what was your biggest fear or hesitation about moving to Panama?
Well, I had a few because I never thought I was going to move here.
A checklist.
Let's see. One was education for my children. A second one was healthcare. The third one was my parents. I know it sounds selfish, but one of my concerns was good restaurants. I come from Dallas, where there's a plethora of good restaurants, and I was worried that moving here to Panama, you know, I'd be having chicken and rice every day. Not that that's not okay, but
and that really was, if I look back at my list 13 years ago, I thought I had been to Chile before, and I didn't really love the food in Chile.
Agreed.
So when I moved to Panama, I thought it was going to be similar. I thought it was just going to be beans and rice and chicken. And wow, was I surprised, because there is so much international influence here that you have food You have not only Japanese, but you have the Peruvian Japanese, Italian,
Italian's amazing.
like German, anything you can think of to eat, we have here. And the food shocked me in the best way possible.
Me too.
I'm not actually a big seafood eater. In Australia, I had a catchphrase, if it's from the sea, it's not for me.
I still have that catchphrase.
But I have to say, like, moving here, there's certain things that I now have started eating, which if you'd told me this 10 years ago, I would have believed you. But like ceviche, like raw fish cooked in like lime juice.
I must need another 8 years or so.
Yeah. I mean, it took a little while, but I mean, because it's so fresh here, like it's just literally straight out of the ocean, that there's still things I'm not a massive fan of, but if I go somewhere, I will, even if it's mostly seafood, I will still always find something that I can eat on the menu.
And I want to go back to Stacey's list because she had some very important things on her list, her children's education. And obviously I know that she feels now that her kids are getting a better education than they got in the US.
Yeah, I was, so little twerps are now trilingual. They've only been here a year and a half, and they speak 3 languages, and 2 of them I don't know what they're saying. So I'm trying to learn one of them, Spanish, but I haven't even started French, and they're fluent.
And then your other hesitation was your parents. Now here's a little secret. Meet Stacey's mom.
Has got it going on. That's her theme song. Every time she walks into the room, we have to sing.
So Stacey's mom, also known as Jerry.
I don't have a theme song in the U.S., but
They need to catch up.
yeah.
So what was your big hesitation moving here?
Well, like Stacey, I didn't even know. This is horrible, but I didn't really even know where Panama was. It's
not
like,
horrible.
is that South America? Is that So then I got a map out, and I'm going, oh my gosh, why would anybody move there? And then I came by myself the first time, and Stacey showed me all around. And then we've been here several times now, and my husband's come along as well, and he loves it. I love it.
And the dog.
And the dog. The little tiny dog.
Little tiny terror.
Yes. So, but it's funny you were talking about food, because whenever we're gone and we come back, I've got my list of places to eat.
Yeah.
It's just like if you've been away from home and you come back home, I've got to go to Whataburger and this one and that one. Well, it's not Whataburger here. It's much nicer, but
Flipping that around, like when Stacey first said we're moving to Panama, was there anything that freaked you out about that? Like, what did you
Oh,
really,
yes.
what did you
All of
really,
it.
really think?
No, it's
All
more
of
like, you're not, is what the conversation was.
yes, I was like, why would you do that? But now I understand.
And now that you're here, what's the flip side of that? So when you tell your friends why you're here half the time, what do they say?
They go, oh, I wish I could.
You say, it's a short plane ride.
Yes, they can.
And I feel like Panama for a long time has had a bad publicist, because when people think about Panama, they think of all the worst parts of Panama. They think of the drug influence back from the 70s and 80s. They think of, jungles and poverty. They don't think of the life that we all live here, which is a really good life.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And a beautiful city. I mean, it's very high tech.
People get surprised when they fly in and they see the city skyline.
There's buildings.
Gorgeous.
There's buildings.
Like
Skyscrapers.
when I was telling people that I was moving to Panama, it was a very predictable response, because Australians don't know that much about Panama, really, except the canal and hats. That's about it. But you say, "Oh, moving to Panama," they'd be like, "Oh, wow, why?" Like almost
Exactly.
all the time, because no one. Do they have electricity there?
Yeah.
Will you have the internet there? I'm like, yep, it's got all the things.
And it's so crazy because I do so much video now, and I have 1 gig up and 1 gig down. So a whole gigabyte. So if there's an internet problem, it's probably not on my side. A lot of times if I'm having a video call with somebody in the US and there's a problem, it's on their end.
It's changed a lot in the last 10 years, though, because when I first moved to Panama, I was in a rental property that had 7 meg.
Yeah, and that was in the
7
beaches area.
meg.
That was never
Yeah.
in the city.
Yeah, that was out in Coronado.
Right.
But even now out there, the minimum package that you can upgrade to or to start with is like 300.
Right.
300 meg.
And as far as what most people do, most people will stream Netflix. Most people will watch YouTube. Most people will, have a Skype call or whatever. And it's plenty fast for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've got fiber optic now out there, which is like 1,000. So
Right. So that's the 1 gig. That's what we have as the fiber optic. And it was a game changer.
Yep.
When I moved to Panama City in 2012, I think I had 35 megs. And it was a little frustrating at times. But right after I moved here, we upgraded to, then up to 100. So it's been interesting for me to see the change over the past 13 years and to see how Panama has grown up. Because when you think about it, Panama is really a young country.
we're a little baby.
It's a baby country, and they've done leaps and bounds.
But we can still watch Netflix, football games, all the important stuff.
Yeah, like
that
you
we
can
want
always,
to.
there's people, you can always get the
Yeah, the little fire sticks.
dodgy box. I don't know what it's really called, but it's like it's like this little box that if you want to watch your live games, you can buy it, and you don't have to miss out.
You
out
can
on
even
anything.
watch your soap opera.
I was going to say The Young and the Restless.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
Gotta get
guys
your
see that.
stories every
Gotta
day.
get your stories in.
And what's so fun for us, there's a mansion right behind my shoulder. You can't see it now, but they rent it out from time to time to different reality shows. And it's been really fun for us to watch these different reality shows. I mean, they're a train wreck.
They are a train wreck, but they're fun to watch. We're like, oh, we've been there.
And we get the popcorn, and it's just like, oh my goodness, this is right next to us.
What are they doing to that house? Oh my God.
Yeah, one of them was
Perfect
a
match.
perfect match. That was interesting. And then
Yeah.
there was a crazy one called From Couple to Thruple.
Really?
That was on Peacock.
I didn't watch that.
That was on Peacock. And we're like, how can this be a family show? I think we only made it like 2 episodes.
You
we
wouldn't
only
want
made
to.
it
You
through
wouldn't
2
want to get the
episodes.
blue light out in that
It was
mansion.
a little much.
I think,
Thruple.
yeah, couple to thruple, yeah.
Look, I mean, Panama is a very open society.
Very.
Didn't know it was that open, but
Jerry, what advice would you give someone who's interested in coming to Panama full or part-time?
Well, I'd tell them to come, and not just for a few days, but to stay at least a week so they could see not only the city, but the outlying areas. They could experience going to the grocery store, which is an experience, but, just kind of get the feel of everything. You know,
Right.
not as a tourist, and really have someone like you or Stacey or Amanda show them around.
Right. And one thing, if you haven't taken a deep dive into my podcast videos, this would be a good time to do it, because things like going to the grocery
Going to the
store,
grocery store.
we did a whole video because there are some idiosyncrasies about going to the grocery store in Panama. So if you have a question about something, just look through those, watch the ones that interest you, because we're not here really just selling real estate, which is my business. We're here to tell you about what life is like on the ground. And, for me, about 90% of it is amazing, and 10% of it is really.
yeah, it's a trade. Like there's
It's a
definitely
trade-off.
a trade-off. For me, definitely all the positives that I get for lifestyle outweigh, I'm not even going to call them the negatives, I'm going to call them the inconveniences.
Right.
You know what's so funny? Things are packaged, and at home, you wouldn't dare open that because
no.
it's got a package. But here, if
How
you just
about it?
want one,
That's
you just
right.
open
One
it,
tomato.
take one out.
If you want one Coke, if you want one pill,
yeah, that's
you can buy anything, just one.
just
It's
one.
crazy.
Do you guys remember I think it was Onion Gate of about 4 or 5 years ago.
And it was during COVID.
Yeah, they had a
was
shortage
before
of onions, and onions were one of the vegetables that were under the government, like produced nationally.
Right.
And there'd been an issue, and there wasn't enough onions, so there would be like on Facebook groups for the local community. They've got onions, so people would be going down, and then within 10 minutes, all the onions are gone. Because onions is such a staple in so many dishes. We call that Onion Gate. I remember
Onion
that
Gate.
so
It's
clearly.
so funny. I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah, this was maybe more out in like the Coronado beaches
Well, and
area.
it was
but-
definitely specific to COVID because it was just for this amount of time. But,
Yeah.
people
They
like their
changed it up,
onions.
and they actually agreed to import onions because there were no onions.
Because how
there
can
was
people survive
insufficient.
without
There were
onions?
insufficient onions with all their onion breath. Anyway,
The other interesting thing is fresh eggs. So we buy eggs directly from people who have the hens and pick up the eggs, and you get little pieces of straw and grass on some of the eggs.
and poop. Be honest,
They are the best eggs.
Yeah.
I mean,
the
they're
best eggs.
yellow. They're proper yellow eggs.
They're golden.
The-
and they're huge,
orange.
and the yolks are huge.
And if you've noticed, the shells are much harder on kind of what I'll call a natural chicken than the processed eggs that you get in the. I mean, when I was back in the U.S., I did what I normally do because I do it pretty hard to crack it, and the egg went everywhere because I wasn't used to such a fragile shell.
And they also don't keep them in the fridge
Right.
at the
I
supermarket.
went up and down looking for the eggs. I was like, I can't find the eggs anywhere. They must not have eggs. They're just on the side of the aisle.
And they're not white. They're like
They're brown.
they're a brown color. Like
Right.
They're on the side of the aisle with the milk, which is also not in the refrigerator. But it's the best milk, and it lasts
Isn't it?
forever.
Amazing.
I don't understand the process, but
I can't do Tetra Pak milk. I can't do it.
The first time when Stacey's husband John was visiting, he was like looking in the fridge for the milk, and he's like, "Do you have milk?" And I said, "Yes." And he's like, "I don't see it in the fridge." And I'm like, "That's because it's in the cupboard." And he's like, "What?" And it was like that head tilt. What?
No, milk is one of those things I'm super weird about. I can't do it like warm milk in beverages. So milk from a like a little
I
Tetra
love
Pak. No, thank you.
that ultra. It's called ultra what's the word?
Homogenized.
Homogenized milk, because I love not saying, "Oh, I don't have any milk," and having to run to the grocery store. You can keep a month's worth.
I just drink black tea.
and you can also put it in the refrigerator.
That's right.
It doesn't have to
It
stay
doesn't have to be
outside.
warm.
I mean, so since we're on the milk tangent, I mean, I've also noticed a huge change in, like, when you go to the grocery store, like organic and gluten-free and soy milk, almond milk, oat milk,
There's everything. I'm like,
rice milk, like all the milks. Again, I won't touch them, but you know,
You're just
I'm very milk
anti-milk. Okay.
No, just I like it full fat, homogenized, pasteurized, cold from the fridge.
Whole milk.
Yeah. But that is not something that was around when I first moved here 10 years ago. Like
really?
That level of, like, if you wanted to buy organic food, gluten-free food, and any of those like food allergies, it was a much more limited choice than what there is now. They have whole sections in the supermarket
And I
dedicated
think, though,
to
because
that.
you lived at the beach, because I think even from when I've been here, it's been available in the city. So if you're in a smaller community, especially a decade ago,
Yeah.
it was harder to find. But now I think even in smaller communities, you're able to find.
Because it used to be more, you'd get that sort of stuff at the Reba Smith. But now it's in
Reba
the
Smith is the high-end grocery
that's
store.
like has the most level of, I guess, American sort of
Like Reba
imports.
McEntire? What are y'all talking about?
But even like in El Rey now, they've got a huge, which is like, you know, a mid-tier kind of supermarket. They've got a huge range of organic, gluten-free, all the things.
Right. And the other thing I love is, while we're on the topic of food, is
Our favorite.
our favorite. Why does it always end up at food? All the different types of produce you can buy on the side of the road, and not just in one area. I mean, I would rather go to a side of the road produce stand any day of the week than to the grocery store, because it will be fresher. It's probably from somebody's garden. It's probably organic, right? And it just tastes better, and it's dirt cheap.
That's one of my mum's favorite things, because she comes every year to visit, and we have to go to the vegetable stand man and get her a pineapple and a watermelon. And you'll pull up, and he'll say, "Okay, well, do you want the pineapple to eat today, or do you want the pineapple for tomorrow?"
That's right.
And so he'll give you the one that is like perfectly ripe, and it's maybe $2 for a whole pineapple, and it'll be the best pineapple you've ever eaten in your whole life.
Right. And the avocados are like, they're like this big.
I didn't know that's what they were.
Yeah, most
was
people
like,
think
what
they're
is
a
this?
melon. They're so big, they think that they're a melon, because they're at least 5 times bigger than a Haas
Oh, at
avocado
least.
that we're used to. So, you know, the doctor says to eat a quarter of an avocado. That's like a humongous meal. If you're enjoying this episode, please hit that subscribe button and be sure to turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our insider tips about life in Panama. Okay, moving away from food and back to real estate.
Yeah, we'll have to do just a whole session on food one day.
Shoot, I thought we were going straight to wine after that.
Stacey, how did you find the home buying process in Panama, and were there any surprises?
It's extremely easy, much easier than in the U.S. There's not a 200-page novel you have to sign where you get hand cramps. It's like a 4-page document. It was much harder to open a bank account than to buy property here. It's very easy.
A typical contract will be in 2 languages. If English is your first language, it'll be in English and Spanish. And even having 2 languages in a contract, it'll typically be 8 pages. So you've probably got 4 pages of English and 4 pages of Spanish. And there are no gotchas. It's just who, what, where, when, sign. I mean, it's so easy.
Did you buy from directly from a developer, or did you buy in directly from a resale?
Well, two things. One, I came just to get an investment property.
Mm-hmm. Look how that worked out for you. Yeah.
And then when I came to decorate it, they were like, maybe what would it look like if we moved here? And then we bought one to live in. So now we have one we live in here and one is an investment property. But we reserve our investment property for our friends and family most of the time.
I was going to say, how's that investment going for you?
It's great.
It's fully occupied.
I love it. The only thing is, is timing. Like someone will want to come in April and the same time. But we work it out. We've seen more friends and family, especially from my husband's side in California.
You always seem to have a child dropping in to say hi.
Well, it's because we have 8.
I know.
So
she hates the term octomom.
yeah, I don't like that at all. Don't say that.
I didn't.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm not say that.
That was her.
So here's an open question for whoever wants to answer. How has the cost of living impacted your lifestyle in Panama?
Well, I, for one, couldn't survive without our nanny to help with these children every day. So we have just overall the quality of life here. We are enjoying it. It's more calm. People are more laid back. We get to have help with, all the kids at home. And there's no way we could have a full-time nanny/maid. And then, like I said, I'm so happy because we get to have friends and family here almost all the time. I see them more now than we did before.
Yeah.
I don't have that many. My mum comes every year, but Australia is so far away, and it's not near anywhere really that people from Australia are making a quick trip to. So I don't get a lot of visitors from home, but I know that I've just come back from there, and the lifestyle I have here and what I can lead on not earning the same like dollar for dollar what I probably would have been earning back in Australia. Mm-hmm. So much more relaxed. Like I can have a nice lifestyle, not lifestyles the rich and famous, but comfortable. I don't have to worry about, I'm going out for dinner. Can I afford a dinner?
Right.
Can I pay the electric bill? Like I live credit free.
Right.
Pretty much, except for the finance on my condo.
Mortgage-free.
Oh, I'm about to sign up for the mortgage, so it's not 100% mortgage free. But still, I mean, even for me to have been able to buy, because I bought out at Royal Palm in Gorgona, for me to have been able to buy a brand new 1-bedroom, absolute beachfront condo, my dad thought I was money laundering. Because I said, I've bought a place, Dad. Like I bought off the plan, so it won't be ready for a couple of years. But this was like 2 years, a year and a half after I moved here. He's like, what are you doing out there? He honestly thought I was doing something illegal. I was not. It was just because of the financing plan. It did make it easy for me to move there.
Mm-hmm. And the cost of living is so much cheaper in every area of your life. So if you've got, these are the 50 things I spend money on. I mean, every single one of them, from healthcare, dining out, even little things like the tip here, the standard tip is 10%, whereas the standard tip in the U.S. is 20%. I was just back there a couple of weeks ago, and it hurt to leave that 20% because I'm not used to it anymore.
And they've changed it now. They have give you the options of 20, 25, and 28%.
28%.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, it's not like and the cost of the actual meal has gone up so much anyway.
Exactly. And the other thing is I can remember being in the U.S., and I was having this conversation with a friend of mine. I had a maid that came twice a month, or a housekeeper, I guess you'd call it. And we were having this conversation over a glass of wine, and she's just like, wouldn't it just be so luxurious to have a maid every single week? If I could have my person come once a week, my house would be sparkling clean. And I remember that vividly. Now I have a full-time maid who's here every single day. And literally, if I had to choose between her and my husband, there's no choice. It's her.
She comes every day, and her apartment is sparkling clean. Mine comes every day, and it's not. But that's not their fault. It's the kids.
I remember when COVID hit and we weren't allowed to have anyone who didn't live in your building was not allowed into the building. And so the thing that actually upset me the most was, and this sounds so terrible, that my cleaner couldn't come, and she would only come once a week, but just to do the things I really hated. Right. And I was talking to my mum on the phone. She's like, how are you going? Because back then in Australia, they were still living their life as normal and we were locked into our condos. But she was, how are you? I'm like, I think I'm going to have to mop my own floor, Mum. I haven't done that in 6 years. I don't know if I can do it. So I ended up bribing someone who lived in the building. Like, I'll cook dinner if you'll mop my floor. So I made a trade because I just didn't want to do it.
Right.
But it sounds so like hashtag first world problems. But that is one of the very nice perks that life here affords.
And once you settle into life here, you make a list of all the things you don't like to do. You can get someone to do all of these little things literally for pocket change. You have to get your da-da-da renewed. Maybe it's your driver's license. You don't want to go stand in line? You give someone $20. They stand in line for you. Amazing. You want them to change the registration on your car? They do it all and get a signature. So all the hard things in life are literally taken off your plate.
The annoying things.
Yeah, exactly.
Time eaters.
And there's people who have built businesses and livelihoods
Doing those things.
doing those annoying things that
That's
we
right.
don't want to do.
So we're helping the economy.
Look, and I don't like people who try and come in and they want to take advantage of local
Right.
people
Right.
by paying
No.
them a pittance to do a huge amount of work. I'm not down for that. But there are a lot of people here who they've started up a business, a line of income, doing that, helping people,
That's
especially
right.
people who don't speak English. So
That's right.
the thought
Don't
of
speak Spanish.
don't speak Spanish. So the thought of going to the car registry office or the electricity office is
Right.
someone can do that for you for not much money.
Right.
For the time it's going to take. So I love that.
And see, I
love
don't think
that.
you could find anyone at home to do that, even if you paid them a lot of
No,
money.
exactly.
They just wouldn't do it.
Or you'd have to pay them such an incredible amount of money that you would be angry at the amount of money you had to pay them.
You couldn't trust that they would do it.
That's
Right.
right.
They
That
take
too.
your money and psh, okay.
No, and we've talked about how like someone will get their car will break down on the side of the road and they'll end up giving their keys to a stranger and saying, "Can you take care of this for me? Here's $20." They know that the car is going to end up where it's supposed to and they're not going to steal your car. I mean, it's just
Amazing.
It's a much safer society and more trusting, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like to a limit, you take the same sort of precautions you would take anywhere, but I
Exactly.
don't feel here like I have to be hyper vigilant. I feel much safer here, especially in certain parts of back in Sydney.
You know what? I feel the schools are so much safer. That was another huge concern of mine is there are school shootings in America. Every day you hear about it. I mean, you can't block it out of your news feed. And it's just terrible. You have to go through basically a prison pat down to get to school. And it's terrifying. And I just feel so much safer here with the kids here. And I have that peace of mind. I don't have that worry at all here.
Jerry, what's been the most unexpected benefit of living in Panama? And do you think it's important for people to know Spanish in order to come here?
Don't know that I'd say it's important. It would be helpful, but people are so nice here. If you don't speak Spanish and they don't speak English, they'll find someone who does. And I love the little handheld translator on Google, and it's so funny because you'll look up something, show it to them, they'll type in something, show it to you.
Exactly.
So there's all kinds of ways to communicate.
Right.
But I've never had anyone, say, because I didn't speak Spanish, get irritated. And I don't get irritated because they don't speak English. I mean, you just try to get along.
That's right.
And there's always pantomime.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And they do really well at that.
A friend of mine, she was trying to buy chicken, and she's there like at the supermarket going, chicken.
They do really. I mean, there's a lot you can understand from their body language. A lot.
Right.
But they're laughing while they're doing it too. They're not like,
They're not irritated.
And I think this taught me a lot about being a person because I can remember being in the United States and being frustrated if somebody didn't speak English.
I did the same.
And I
Guilty.
think this gives you a level of appreciation because as fast as her kids have become fluent, as we get older, it's harder. It is harder to learn a new language. But I think because the Panamanians are such a lovely people, they're more willing to work with us than if it were reversed. And they were coming in.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I always feel like it's always appreciated if you try to speak in some Spanish.
And we are trying to learn.
I think, I think it's respectful. I mean, to try, but half the time then someone will come in and they'll see that you're struggling and they'll
Exactly.
speak English. But I think
like don't hurt yourself.
But I mean,
You know what's weird? I'm doing Duolingo, trying to learn Spanish, but I'm still kind of hesitant to try it because they speak so fast.
You got to just dive
I've
in
got
there,
my
Jerry.
Texas
Dive in.
Spanish accent.
Spanglish.
Spanglish.
Conversation with someone who you can't communicate in English is going to be one of the best ways to actually learn. And
Well,
you'll feel
just being here
embarrassed
the
and you'll
time.
make mistakes and it doesn't matter.
But you get immersed in it.
She
too.
does. She's speaking. She's like, I can read that sign.
Yeah, I go around reading things going, I can read that.
My mum, she's learned a few phrases. Every time she comes here, she picks up a new one. But I heard her once like practicing, like, sí, gracias. Sí, gracias. Café con leche, por favor. Like,
Those are really cute. Okay, as we wrap up, last words. Stacey, last words.
If you're thinking about it, just do it.
Jerry, last words.
I'm thinking about it. She's wanting me to do it and probably getting closer and closer. But even if you don't, again, if you don't know anything about Panama, don't be afraid to come and find out because it's totally different than what you would expect.
Give it a test drive.
Absolutely.
Amanda, last words.
if you had told me 12 years ago when I first came to Panama that I would be happily living here, running my own business, living the life that I am now, I probably wouldn't have believed you. So for anyone who thinks they can't do it, don't say that to yourself. You can. Come and try it out. It's not for everyone, but come try it out because there are so many things here that make life amazing.
And I think my word for the day is test drive. Mm-hmm. I think if you're at all Panama curious, take it for a test drive. So there you have it, our unfiltered take on what it's really like to move to Panama. For each of us, there was a turning point, an aha moment, when we knew Panama was the place we wanted to call home. The Real Expats of Panama is going to be an ongoing segment of the Panama Podcast where we continue to provide unfiltered commentary on life in Panama, one slice at a time.
One glass at a time.
One glass of wine at a time. If you found this conversation helpful, make sure to like this episode as it helps the algorithm bring this content to more people. And remember, when it comes to moving abroad, what you don't know can cost you. So until next time, we'll be here bringing you the real stories of life in Panama. Cheers.
Cheers.